Hello again. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by one of the best dudes in the sports media business, good friend of mine, Tony Basilio. He is Mr. Everything in the Knoxville sports media. I'm not even going to screw it up and just let you tell people where they can find your stuff. So have at it, Tony.
Thank you, Chris. I love you, man. I appreciate everything that you do and appreciate your work. You can find me at tclub.team, and we do it all. We're like a one-stop shop. Couple thousand words every day on the Vols on our blog with several different contributors. And then we do post-game stuff. After the Oklahoma game, we'll be on there over on our website, various video platforms, and going for it into the wee small hours of the morning, which is why I look like this right now, Chris.
You know, a coach I once covered said, rest is for the weak. I think you subscribe to that motto, don't you, given all the stuff you guys did this year with Tennessee?
Yeah, they found me on the floor back in the summer after Tony Vitello, after they won the World Series. And I told Tony, I said, I almost died on the altar of Tony Vitello. So that's not a place to be, Chris.
Yeah, I don't think we die for anybody in this field, but hey, we live for football, and boy, we're living for this weekend. This Tennessee game with Oklahoma, I think, was a top 5 matchup of all the games I circled pre-conference. Now, I think it's still a good game. I don't think it's the game that I thought it would have been before the season, because saying it's because Oklahoma didn't hold up its end of the bargain would be harsh and inaccurate. But, I mean, they've had a bunch of injuries. They've had cohesion issues on the offensive line. But still, I think it's an interesting game. It's the first SEC game in Norman. Tennessee's riding high. Oklahoma's got a good defense. It's got an athletic quarterback. How excited are people in Knoxville to see this one?
Unbelievable. And there's so many storylines. I mean, when you do what we do, you get this thing with Heupel going back to Oklahoma. But really for Tennessee, it's a reemergence on the national stage and a real opportunity. Nico's a guy they invested a lot of money in 3 years ago when they found him, right at the advent of the whole NIL thing. And they identify the guy that would be perfect for their system. What they didn't realize, though, Chris, is that as good of a player and prospect he is, he's that much better of a young man. Grounded kid, family-oriented youngster who, from the first minute he came in here, was extremely humble, teachable, never exalted himself above his teammates, kind of a servant type kid, just a really, really, really quality person on top of being a really talented quarterback, which in this day and age is something you really need.
Yeah, I think the evidence of that was last year when there was no locker room controversy or anything like that over Joe Milton. Clearly, he's a better player than Milton. I'd always heard those kind of things about him, but to me, that was the litmus test.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I mean, really, probably him redshirting was probably the best thing for him. He was little kind of last year. He was still slight, and they put a bunch of weight on him, and he worked really hard in the offseason. And this is really kind of a showcase for him, and the thing about both these teams is we really don't know, and you don't know till you get into conference play what you have. I mean, in generalities, that Tennessee's got a very deep defensive line. Chris, I've been doing this for 30 plus years here, and I go back to the mid 80s as a student at the University of Tennessee, which is kind of hard to believe, but because I've been around here long enough to know better, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the thing that's remarkable to me is I don't ever remember a team with a defensive line here this deep. It's one thing to have 6, 7 guys that can play. They've got 12 guys they're going to rotate Saturday night. 12 guys in a signature football game. And when they play Alabama, they're going to rotate 12 guys up front. When they play Georgia, they're going to rotate 12 guys up front. And when you're in one of those games, I think there's a real advantage middle of the second half on when you've got fresh defensive linemen that you're constantly rotating against guys, especially in Oklahoma's case. They're lucky to put, as you were saying, with all the injuries, they had 5 quality, at this point, upper tier type players out there. They're in a really difficult spot Saturday night.
Let's start on that defensive line, because when you're saying that, I'm thinking, okay, best lines I remember at Tennessee. I'm thinking John Henderson, Albert Haynesworth. I mean, and your knowledge of this would be much better than mine. That's just kind of where my mind goes.
Yeah.
Depth and all, how does this bunch compare to that one?
This is the deepest line they've ever had. Now, obviously, when you've got the Hainsworth, the Hendersons, the Will Overstreets of the world, the Darwin Walkers of the world, those are the guys that won the national championship. I mean, Will Overstreet, who was a second-round draft pick of the Falcons, who ended up getting hurt, but would have had a marvelous professional career. He was a true freshman on that national championship team. They went about 8 or 9 deep. This group goes 12 deep. And the thing about these schools, as you know, is that when you have a guy like Rodney Garner here, who Rodney down through the years, his recruiting prowess has really been overshadowed by his ability to develop these guys. His days at Georgia, his days at Auburn. If we were to look at a CV on a Rodney Garner and look at all the guys down through the years that he has taught, not only that he put in the NFL, but guys that you were a marginal college player and he turned you into a very good player. The thing about Rodney Garner that I like is that he does not, even with like a James Pearce on his roster, they only let him play in the Chattanooga game. He was only on the field like 12 snaps.
Yeah.
A lot of times what coaches will do with kids like him is let them go out there and get their numbers. But that's not what Tennessee does. In each unit, Heupel lets each guy coach their own room, so to speak. And on that defensive line, they're constantly looking toward how do we grow what's underneath? How do we grow what's underneath? To the point where they've got 12 of them that can play. And Chris, that's really unique, as you know.
That's game changer.
And they're not having a drop-off. And they need it this year because really the question mark on their team is their back four, which is going to be challenged some Saturday. I'm not sure how much, though, because I'm not sure how much time Arnold's going to have to throw the ball, which is a huge thing in this game.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that's one reason in my mind the matchup has lost some luster is that Tennessee's got a strength that can match up really well with where Oklahoma is really hurting. I mean that literally in this case. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean they've had a lot of guys hurt. But the secondary is kind of what I've been watching too. I looked at them on paper preseason. I said, all right, you get Keenan Peely back. Feels like you got some up-and-coming linebackers. The front will take care of itself. Just we knew about the star power. Now we know about the depth. But the back four, those corners and those safeties are where I had to question, do we have any more answers there than we had before the season?
McCoy's a kid that came in from Oregon State. They really, really like him. I think the issue for Tennessee, and, I've said it in the offseason to the point where I had to declare a moratorium on myself on the air, but free safety is a real bugaboo for them, and it's going to be a challenge. There's a kid that came here under Jeremy Pruitt, who's a fifth-year walk-on, or six-year. Well, let me do the math here. 5, whatever the number is. Anyway, he's your free safety, and, if they get the right type of team that could expose them. Again, Chris, I'm not sure Oklahoma's that. I'm not sure Oklahoma's capable of NC State sure wasn't. NC State couldn't. NC State just was not capable of sustaining anything. Yeah. And Tennessee's defensive line just swallowed them, and then Tennessee's running game just put so much pressure on them that game was over pretty quickly.
I'm thinking, and again, the reasons why we've talked about the game. I think where they're going to get tested more is that Arkansas game in a couple of weeks because those guys can sling the ball around. Yeah, now, again, I don't know if they've faced anybody like Tennessee, but I think that one, just as a sidebar, is a lot more interesting than I would have thought before the year.
And that's how this league is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, Vanderbilt's got a credible football team, and that's how this league is. And Arkansas is a team that, you look at them, really, really should have gotten Oklahoma State. It's a shame.
Yep.
They were ready to win, but that's a game they should have won. And had they have won, we probably are looking at them differently than we currently are. But I agree with you. I agree with that. That quarterback can throw it around a little bit. They've got a pretty good receiving core. And in this league, this thing I love about this league, even kind of the lesser teams or the teams down the table, so to speak, are going to test you.
Yeah.
A lot more than, say, an NC State tested Tennessee. And NC State, coming into the year, had designs on winning. Chris, I saw a crazy number this week because Vegas has really had a problem here in the transfer portal era assessing what's on these rosters. And so coming into this week, and Tennessee's one of 3 games where the look-ahead line before the season is actually a double-digit difference from where the look-ahead line was to where the line is.
Yep.
Clemson and NC State's one of those games where they've adjusted, and now it's like 20.5 or whatever it is as we talk. The Michigan USC game's 20 points difference, and this one is a 12-point difference from where it was supposed to be, which lends to the whole concept of we're now getting into the part of the season where we're all going to learn what's on these rosters.
I'm going to give you a part B of that. And I do, and let me find it. I keep up with and I do it. I don't even gamble. I just do it just for fun.
Yeah.
I keep a points above average model.
Sure.
And, let me find it.
Sure.
I'll pull it up, but this will illustrate some of that because there's a couple of teams that are in my mind. And I just do it to look ahead and say, what's it going to look like when Tennessee and Arkansas play?
Yeah.
What would the line look like if they played it right now? And it's usually pretty close. And I'm just going to give
you compile this yourself. Do you compile this yourself?
Do.
Oh, that's
well.
Awesome.
I mean, I pull the numbers off the internet. I'm no genius or anything, but here's all right. Tennessee coming into the Chattanooga game, 17.5 points above average. Coming in the NC State game, 20.1. Kent State, 22.7. Coming into this one, 24.8. The Georgia game, that in preseason, Tennessee was, I think, about 15, 16, somewhere between a 14 and 16-point underdog in that one projected. That's now, my model's got it at 4. That's an illustration of how fast these numbers can change. And I think those guys, they do a lot of work. We've got a lot of analytical tools. There's a lot of research out there. I think they do a good job.
Yeah.
But you just don't know till you get those guys suited up and see how it all meshes together. And
it's wild. And it's never been crazier. And the variance from week to week on the early part of the season, which leads me to believe, because I like it too. You're a lot more numbers oriented than I am. However, I just find the whole concept of in a sport where we all pride ourselves on how much we love it and how much we know about it. The truth is early in these seasons, you kind of know, but you really don't know. And I think that's going to be the rule, by the way, going forward. I really do. I think that's going to be the rule. It's going to be really hard to sort of pin down who's got what where. Oklahoma in this league, and you've talked about this too. The schedule makers in this league didn't do Oklahoma any favors. This is the first many pitfalls for them. This is just their first step into this deal Saturday night.
Yeah, and they're fortunate that they had their easier games first so that they could deal with the injuries and the continuity. But until I'm not sure they're going to get completely healthy. But here's part B of this.
Yeah,
and I'm looking at this. Here's your top 6 teams in the poll I put together in order: Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss. There is about a 3.5 point difference between the top and the bottom, which is crazy because it wasn't, you can count on one hand the number of years ago it was where our discussion at this point of the season, or maybe not at this point of the season, but once we got into mid-October was, all right, are you taking Alabama or the field or Georgia or the field?
Right.
We don't have that anymore. Part B to this, they're just and you alluded to, there aren't a lot of pass outs in this league. I'll give you, for example, you could get a South Carolina or a Kentucky, and you look up in Jeff Sagarin's ratings, and in a bad year, those teams might be under, around 100, give or take a few spots. You'd catch some teams in the 70s and 80s. Just about every team in this league right now is a top 50 team in college football. Like even Florida today, I'm not sure it's going to end the day there. Is there the 2 teams that statistically are outside of that are Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, which I think Vanderbilt at least is probably better. You could see Vandy slip into the top 50, although the schedule is going to be brutal. Here's the point. the top heaviness of this league is like we've never seen it. I mean,
Yes.
you've got 5, maybe 6 teams you could say could win the national title. I don't think we've ever seen that.
Yeah.
And the in-between's just the easy game. Now, like, some of these games may be easy by virtue of being Tennessee or Ole Miss and just being able to slaughter whoever's in front of you. But, if you're a mid-level team, there just aren't wins there that are just there for the taking once or twice a year like there used to be.
No, and then you're going to have the injury factor. My theory is that I think as we've gone forward, I think it's always been sort of baked into the deal with major college football. But now that you're paying real money, I think that the bottom teams are going to have more credible rosters because most of these kids that endeavor to play major college football have aspirations of playing in the NFL.
Yep.
And it only stands to reason that if I have aspirations for playing in the NFL, why wouldn't I come from California and get on one of these Southeastern Conference rosters?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're seeing occur. And I think you're going to begin – I think that outward migration from the west to the south, from the east to the south, from the north to the south, to play football in this league, which has been exalted above the others from the standpoint of what ESPN's promoting now. And let's face it, they're going to promote it going forward. We've seen them do this. If it's their product, they're going to promote it above all others. And I think it's going to have a real impact on the bottom of the league. The top teams were always going to get players. They've got the budget. They're always going to get players. When you start seeing, and again, I use the term, when I'm watching Vanderbilt play, and I know that they had a rough weekend with Georgia State. They have a credible football team. How long's it been since you would say, hey, that's a credible college, like you said, a top 50 looking, credible. And here's the thing about the top of the league. The Floridas, the Auburns of the world, they're going to cycle in. Some years the Tennessee's going to cycle out. Georgia's going to cycle out once their little runs over here. So those teams are always going to kind of, jockey around. But the middle and the bottom of the league, I think, is going to be the difference. I think 4 or 5 years from now, Chris, I think these teams will be stacked from top to bottom. You're going to have like a mini NFL. I really believe that.
I think you're getting close. And I'll give you another example of just the parity. And somebody brought this up to me before last season. LSU got a transfer offensive lineman from Maryland. Maryland got a transfer offensive lineman from LSU. Mm-hmm. What it was you had a kid that couldn't play at LSU that could go to Maryland and start.
Right.
And you had a kid at Maryland who was a starter that could come to LSU and it's like, you didn't make a trade, but you did. But the point was that's the evening out of the rosters that goes up and down all of these teams. And if you're, I don't know how the mid majors do it unless somebody's got a couple of rich boosters who's willing to, like the Sun Belt teams, Boise State, good. I don't know how those teams ever. There were a couple of MAC teams that have pulled up. So it's like I don't know how in the world you do that. I don't know how in the world Northern Illinois is able to go to Notre Dame and win. Just as a sidebar, but that's kind of the fascinating part of it.
No, it doesn't seem possible. No,
but it happened. But anyway, but back on Tennessee. How good is Nico?
I mean, right now he's not what he's going to be at the end of the year because he works really hard at it, and he's a craftsman. He's going to get better. The thing that worries me, coming to a game like this is, and I was talking to Adam Sparks of the News Sentinel about this. I think there's a certain level of confidence that he has. They've got a saying around here, let it rip. Yeah. And Joey Halsey and them, they talk about that as offensive coordinator. They want him playing loose and free. Their theory here is we're going to put you in an offense with mostly low-risk throws. They're letting him attack the middle of the field, though, Chris, because he has the arm to do it, and he can make those throws. He tried to fit a ball into a tight window against NC State. They picked it off. A ball he threw to Brew McCoy on a slant. Just a freshman, just a guy with not a lot of seat time, making a mistake. And then he threw another interception. His arm was hit, and the ball went up in the air. And teams at this level are going to make plays on you. My greatest fear from a Tennessee perspective Saturday is that, you've got a defensive coordinator there who's been in a lot of big games, seen a lot of young kids, seen a lot of talented players, who's pretty good at disguising things. And I think if I'm Oklahoma and I want to be successful, I've got to get Nico in second and third and long situations behind the chains. And if I'm able to do that, maybe I can make him see things on the field that aren't there. But when you ask how good he can be, he literally could be the best quarterback in college football by the end of the year. There's not another guy in the league. There's not another guy in the league that and you know me, I call it like I say it. There's not another guy in the league that I would trade for Josh Heupel's system than this guy. He's absolutely, if you were to build a quarterback in a laboratory, he's perfect. But what you don't know about any of these guys is, how do you function when there's 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go on the clock and you got to go 65 yards and punch a ball in the end zone? That's what decides who can really play from who can pile up stats. And we'll see.
I think my biggest concern, I think if he got hurt, I don't think there's an injury to any team in the country that would change the trajectory of the season like him getting hurt would do to Tennessee. I think the drop off from where he is to what they've got, that was kind of my biggest concern going into the season. And I think it's just a lucky thing, right? I mean, sometimes you go through the season and get your guy healthy. Yeah. And sometimes you catch a horrible break like they did with Hendon Hooker a couple years ago. But to me, that's the biggest question I've got, is just, can they keep him healthy and upright all year?
I think that's fair. And the thing that made me wince, kind of cringe, they played this Kent State team. You didn't watch much of it. If you're not a Tennessee fan, why would you look at games like that? Yeah. He took a hit. They're up 35-0. He took a hit on his knee running with the ball in their secondary the other night. And I'm going, what are we doing? Like, first of all, why is he in the game? And secondly, what are we doing? And the thing about young kids is they don't know how to protect themselves. This Arnold guy's another guy. This guy likes to run people over. And I was talking to somebody from Oklahoma's perspective. They think he's going to run 18 to 20 times Saturday because they're so deficient in other areas. Speaking of Oklahoma's quarterback, you do that in this league enough, and you're not built like Tim Tebow. Yeah. And you're going to be in a lot of ice baths, and you will soon be missing games. And this is one game Saturday night where both these quarterbacks are going to sell out to try and win the game. You get 4 or 5 of these on your roster for these teams of this ilk and this level. And I think that's what we're going to see Saturday. But to your point, they can ill afford to have him miss any significant time, especially with the schedule you're playing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Oklahoma rolls out there health-wise.
Yeah.
You've had issues offensive line. Nick Anderson's been hurt. I don't think Gavin Sawchuk's been himself. And, and look, it's not the same situation, Z, but it's a young quarterback who's about at the same stage of development, didn't really play last year to the bowl game, been starting, doesn't have as much around him as Nico does, but talented kid, almost a consensus 5-star recruit. I think he was a consensus 5-star recruit. But that is the one little variable, is like, does it start to click for them? Because they got Deion Burks. He's a headache. I think Anderson, if he's healthy, he's a headache. They've got some other guys that can do some damage. What's your concern if you're Tennessee's defense against Oklahoma?
Are they going to hit me with big plays? Because so far this year, they have 8 plays of 20 yards or more on the year. And that's just not going to get it done. Look, when you're playing Tennessee's offense, do I think this game's going to be played in the 40s? I don't. I think it's going to be played in the 30s. And if it's played in the 30s, you better be able to make some big plays, or you're going to end up getting beat 35-14, something like that in your building if you're Oklahoma. So my concern is that they got some guys running open in our secondary. We have some busts, some things that haven't occurred, because truly Tennessee hasn't had anybody try to take the top off of them yet. And again, I'm back to this. Until you see it, it's hard to go, okay, well, that area is cured. It's fun to say that. It's fun after you play Tennessee, Chattanooga, or Kent State. Hey, look at the numbers. The numbers at this time of the year can be really deceiving position to position. So this is going to be, I think, an intriguing game for both teams. And, like you were talking about the Arnold kid, I don't know that any young guy could succeed. And I think the world of Nico, if if you're missing, if you play a game like last week with a third or fourth string center, depending on how you're counting that thing, and the left side of your offensive line is getting caved in to the point where you're running for your life against Tulane, and you only have one quality receiver on the field at that point in time than the Burks kid, how's anybody going to function in that? And your best running back's a freshman. How's anybody who's also a dual sport athlete, going to be a great player, obviously, probably a very good baseball player as well. But how would anybody be successful in that? Some young kid, of course, you're going to run for your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could maybe throw in an extra tight end. I don't know if that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, how much of that, but then you're getting somebody off the field and you know, who can do some damage. Maybe you just go with Burks and Anderson and ride with it and see what you can do. But that part will be interesting too, just to see how does Oklahoma protect him, and does Tennessee throw something at him, or can they just get a pass rush straight up with 3 or 4 guys?
And I think that's probably, you know, I keep going back and forth on this. I stop myself. When they've played in this type of game with this defensive coordinator, they've gotten pretty aggressive early. They've brought people, they brought pressure from different sides. Their star nickel position, which is their cornerback, star nickel, their star position, which is their corner nickelback, as I meant to say, is somebody they've used on blitzes. They blitz their linebackers. I don't think they're afraid to do that. I do think they're going to do that some, but they might get in this game and go, hey, this defensive line is so dominant to this offensive line. Why don't we just this is what we see on film. Why don't we test it? Why don't we go out here to the first series? I think what Oklahoma's going to be startled by is when they take the field for that second series, Chris, they're going to see a fresh new 4 bodies. When they take the field for that third series, I told you before, they're going to see a fresh new 3rd bodies. And again, there just aren't many teams in the country able to do this. These guys are, this is different now, what these guys are doing here.
Yeah, and I will say this on the other side, they got some dudes to fear. They've got a defensive line that's been good at stopping the run. They're pretty deep up there. Their back 7, I don't think anybody's got a much more decorated back 7. You don't often run into a team that's got a first-team All-American linebacker or first-team safety. Billy Bowman has taken it back the other way. A tremendous player. Mm-hmm. They've got a bunch of guys that are like Woody Washington, who's from Tennessee, played at Murfreesboro, Oakland, I believe. I mean, they've got some dudes back there. You back to the thing about Nico kind of taking some chances. If you're scripting the way that this did not go the way Tennessee thought it would go, and for the record, I think Tennessee's going to win the game. Yeah, but you just never know. I think if you're Tennessee, that's where I'm I'm more than a little concerned, because you got to be careful against those dudes.
Well, the deal is, you're from a Tennessee perspective, you better play a clean game. Yeah, because you don't play a clean game, you're going to give them life. And how many times we see that in college football? You and I were talking about, how does a Northern Illinois beat a Notre Dame? Well, Notre Dame really struggled on offense, and they couldn't execute. They couldn't do anything. They had a bad day offensively. And if you do that, turn the ball over, give a team without confidence a short field, to me, the first 10 minutes of the game, are so critical. So critical. Because if Tennessee comes out, scores a couple times quickly, like they've done. I think Heupel's been here 42 games. And the stat I heard today was 28 first drive touchdowns for them in 42 football games.
That's crazy.
Hey, and that's just precision. You do that. You do that to them Saturday night. You get down there and knock them out 7-0. You can one-punch knock out these guys. Yeah. Because they've got a team that knows, hey, we can't make plays. I mean, to me, the path for victory for Tennessee is ultra wide in this game. And the path for Oklahoma, which I can't believe I'm saying this, is razor thin. And I wouldn't have thought that back in the summer. But, again, these games are crazy. Anything can happen. Yeah. But this game's nuts now. If this thing goes according to form, Tennessee should really probably win going away, I would think.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. Now, going away, I'm not going to – I could see it happen. I don't know that I'd predict it, but I think they are clearly It's everything you just said. Like preseason, I looked at this and said, hey, this is almost a 50-50 game on a neutral field. But it's not on a neutral field. It's in Norman. And this is one of those games, okay, if it's close, then all right, you can say I'll go with the home team just because. But I think Tennessee's clearly the better team in this one. Just and a lot of it, again, just stuff beyond Oklahoma's control. If the season with health goes differently, then we're talking about a different game. But the one other thing, and this is the stat, I think Oklahoma has gotten 10 turnovers so far. So that's where you really got to watch out. And I think that they're plus in the turnover category. I don't know how many they've turned it over, but
plus eight.
Yeah. And I think one kind of the insurance policy, and that's underselling it, but the one guy we've not talked about, and I think he's one of the best players in this league, is Dylan Sampson. I mean, if it just starts going wrong and Nico's not squeezing balls into windows that he could against other teams, you got that dude. He's averaging, and I know he was averaging over 6 yards a carry for his career before the season. I don't know what that average is now. But I mean, it seems like the guy scores 3 touchdowns every week. He can catch it. He can run it. I think if it goes a little bit off script for Tennessee offensively, I think that's a place where they can fall back and have some success.
And Heupel's offense is run first.
Yeah.
It's a run first offense, which, and he's a perfect back for it. He really, because he catches it out of the backfield well. And he just has a knack, as you say, for big plays, and is really thriving this year. He's really grown. Early on, he was not unplayable, but they were tentative to put him in games because it became a deal for them where he was blocking schemes wise was going to get somebody hurt. And my understanding is that Oklahoma's running back, they're freshmen, they're afraid of having him out there. Tennessee seems to think that if that kid's on the field, that they're either going to throw it to him or he's going to run the ball, simply because he's a kid and they don't trust these kids to block.
Yeah.
So it's worth
not uncommon in this league.
No.
He's a defensive lineman. But if there's a storyline in this game that's really a big one that we haven't really talked about, what is it? And save Josh Heupel because I'm getting there for my last question.
Well, I think the storyline could be, wow, I didn't know about that guy. And Tennessee's got a couple of them on their roster. They've got a couple of wide receivers that essentially, they haven't taken the top off teams just yet. I mean, Nico's been good, and he was really great in the Chattanooga game. But there's any of a myriad of guys. There's 3 or 4 or 5 guys that you could say, man, I had no idea that guy was going to get 180 yards and catch a couple balls for touchdowns. The other thing is, hey, I didn't realize that from an Oklahoma perspective, from a Tennessee perspective, I think, again, I'm back to the offense is going to carry the day. That Oklahoma defense is, and we've seen it in this league. You were talking about the running game before. They're pretty hard to run on.
Yeah.
And this is a run-first offense for Tennessee. Stay ahead of the chains. Stay out of 2nd and long. Don't get in 3rd and long because those are drive stoppers. And I got a young quarterback. So I think that's going to be a real interesting point of this one. But there's any of a myriad of guys that we could point to after the game and go, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, both teams have got a number of talented receivers at a minimum. And I think you could see that probably on either side, although Oklahoma less likely just with the injury stuff. Mm-hmm. But all right, the obligatory Josh Heupel question. Of course, everybody's going to downplay it. Josh Heupel's a smart guy. He's not going to come out and just blast his alma mater in public before the week. And I think he's going to get a very warm reception there. I think he's beloved from what I hear. But internally, what's going through his head, you think, when he's getting ready for this game?
Not a psychologist, but I will tell you from watching this guy and from really trying to bear down on his personality, this guy's an ultra competitive guy.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are wired differently that are called to do what these guys are doing. And they spend umpteen hours at it, God knows. But it's kind of like this with Josh Heupel. Not only was he dispatched by his alma mater, but he was dispatched by the head coach that he won the only national championship for. He thought this was going to be his job one day.
Yeah.
He thought he was Lincoln Riley. And in fact, he was right. He was going to be Lincoln Riley till they let him go and went and got Lincoln Riley. And, you know, if you think about that from Josh Heupel's perspective, he sort of got banished and he had to start over. And he went to Utah State, and then somebody took a chance on him, ends up at Missouri. Then he ends up down there at Central Florida, and here he is at Tennessee. And he's so much better than we ever dreamed he would be here, or that I ever thought he would be. I thought he was a gimmick coach, you know, when they hired him with one of those gimmick offenses. And the story goes, Chris, that when he was terminated at Oklahoma, essentially he was told, I need you to change your offense. And he was like, no, this offense works. We don't need to change this offense. And the head coach said, well, okay, I'm going to change coordinators. And obviously the backstory is from even the Oklahoma side, you talk to these people, they tell you this, that Stoops had to fire somebody. It was not going well. He won't go fire his brother. And so obviously with Josh Heupel, a guy that we've had on several times, Barry Trammell from down in those parts, who's, you know, just an OG sooth at this point around all things Oklahoma. I was talking to Josh Heupel's brother-in-law when this went down, and he said it was soul wounding.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I mean, you know, when one of your friends kind of stabs you like that, that's hard to get over. And we're all human. Yeah. You know, one of my things about this game, I have been able to determine how distracting this thing is internally. But the one thing that I was concerned about with this game is, will it be just another game for him? Because you and I can say that to each other. Hey, you know, there's a person that's going to be in the room Saturday night. We're going to go to a party and they did something to me. And it's really not going to bother me. But the minute you walk in there, your face is kind of, I mean, we're all human, man, you know, and it's all in the back of our mind. But they've got to go out, function, coach a football game, execute in the moment, work their plan, not panic, keep the emotion out of it. And this is an ultra competitive guy, like a really proud, ultra, and I mean ultra competitive scorekeeping guy. This guy's a scorekeeping guy now.
Well, you can tell when they are onside kicking up 30 points against Kent State in the first quarter. That is a guy that does not like to take his foot off the gas pedal.
No, this is a guy. Yeah, this is a guy that loves his numbers. Yeah. The thing I wonder is if they're blowing this team out, does he really put his foot on them? Or, hey, you know what? Some of these people, I'm sorry, Chris, some of these people are really, I don't know what's going on with my phone here. But let me try to silence this darn thing. I guess I'm popular.
You are.
The truth is that we don't know and won't know till we get there. And I wonder, though, would he take his foot off the gas on them or would he put it down?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. And that's here's the thing. I wonder if it's a little different if this game is in Knoxville, because hear me out.
Yeah.
If it's in Knoxville, your next trip is a road trip to Norman, and that's a little different. So,
right. I think at the end of the day, they can act like it's another game. There's no way in the world internally that's another game. But you wonder if the team feels it, because the last thing you want as a coach is for your team to feel it. Yeah. You want your team to feel like, hey, this is just any other game. We're just going to go in and do our thing, and this is how we're going to play. You know, around these parts, I talk to former players that live in the area and have played on these past teams. Part of the I guess, fruits of doing this, get to know some of these folks. And they say, like in the majors years, when they really struggled with Alabama, he was different during Alabama week. His team could sense it. Fulmer, during the Florida years, they had comparable teams to Florida and didn't perform well. And they said they could feel the tension with him during those weeks, and they think it spilled over. And I wonder if Heupel's going to create a relaxed atmosphere this week. I think he will. I'd say this about him: he's got a real high level of emotional intelligence the way he deals with his football team. He really does. It's really impressive. Smart guy.
I've always been impressed with him. There was a story, and I'll keep the names out of it. Although you might be able to guess, but it was a recruiting visit, kind of my neck of the woods, and there were several coaches there to watch a certain prospect play basketball, and there was Josh Heupel is not just one of these guys who goes out and crunches numbers and crushes teams on Saturday and has got the personality of Bill Snyder. From what I was told by somebody that witnessed all the interactions and stuff, that there's a charisma there on that side of things, which may explain why they've been able to accumulate some talent too. And I think that's probably one reason he's done so well.
Yeah, and the other thing is, internally they treat those kids professionally. This is what's expected of you, and we're not going to put up with BS. And I'm not going to say it's Nick Saban-like from that standpoint, because they do have fun and smile and cut up and all those things. But it's in the NIL era. See, I don't know how good he would have done long-term absent of the NIL. None of us know that, because the book on him was he wasn't a great recruiter, so to speak. Because to recruit, you got to really love pounding the pavement. I'm not sure how anybody does that. I mean, and I know you're a guy, like I'm a guy in business for myself, and we got to go do our own thing. But man, that gets exhausting. That really
you just want to go. You just want to go do your thing, right? You just want to go do your show and not be a salesman. And I think I get it exactly. He just wants to work. Maybe you just want to coach football, right?
That's right. And I think that's why a lot of these guys invariably end up in the NFL, because they're like, hey, I'm done selling. Yeah. But from his perspective, this NIL thing's perfect. They've got a lot of money here. He treats people so well that when they bring kids in for visits, his team sells his program for him.
Yeah.
Hey, go talk to so-and-so. Go spend time with my kids. He does not demean people behind the scenes. He's not like Butch Jones was. He doesn't have to put himself over. He's not like that at all. He's very comfortable in his own skin. I think the guy, if the hash marks of the NFL were a little different, I think the guy'd be a perfect pro coach. The way he treats kids.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't think they're falling off anytime soon. I think they've got just all the ingredients to be really good for a while. But of course, big step in Norman Saturday. We'll see how that goes. I know you do post-game shows and all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
Tell folks where they find it, please.
tclub.team. And again, I'm already tired. I'm already pre-tired, but I'm looking greatly forward to it.
I know how that feels. I don't know. I think I spent a day this week. I talked about 5 hours, and I'm like, I'm done today. I just need to sit and do something that requires no thought.
There's a chance that game's going to end at probably around midnight Eastern time, 11:30. There's a chance I'm on till 5 a.m., 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, be late church for Tony on Sunday.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, Tony, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will do a recap Saturday night after the game, probably somewhat timed with when we think this Tennessee-Oklahoma game is going to be over. We'll recap all the SEC. To get that, hit that subscribe button, enable your notifications, and hit the thumbs up on this. That helps our analytics. We do baseball, football, basketball year-round. And advertising inquiries, caroline.smith@southeastern14.com. For Tony Basilio, I'm Chris Lee, host here at Southeastern 16. Thanks for watching. God bless you. We'll see you again soon. Content here presented by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff. Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on all the action. Bet online. The game starts here.